Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Africam Show brought to you by explore.org. I'm so glad to have you with me. We are going to have a bit of an adventure through the African bush in the most unobtrusive way with some live cams. It's me, Trishala, always too excited to be out in the bush and, of course, to be with you all. Here we're starting off with this pair of black eagles, or rose eagles. I must admit, this is the first time that I've seen this pair, and I was just in awe. Just before I came on here, I had a quick look at them, and I was just, oh, it's amazing to be able to have such a privilege of watching this pair as they rear some eggs. Well, actually, they're just sitting on some eggs, waiting for them to be hatched, and soon they will rear some young. So this pair, their name is Makatsa. So Makatsa is the female, and Mashlori is the male. Who do we have here at the moment tending the nest? I wish I could tell. But if you're wondering what I'm looking at, obviously you can see in the center of the screen there is a beak that's moving around. We can't really see much else. So there we go. Hello. Thank you for joining us on this glorious afternoon, Mr. or Mrs. Eagle. What an amazing sighting. Sorry, you might hear that I'm still a little blocked up. I'm not totally recovered from my bout of the flu, I think. I'm not sure. But I'm sure the eagle doesn't care. Oh, this is too lovely. So the rose eagles are actually one of my favorite types of eagles. And that's because they're very large. They're about 3 to 4 kgs. And some records even say a little bit larger. So they're really easy to identify. They're black. Some of them have white feathers as well, especially a white patch in the back in kind of like a triangular shape. And I had the most amazing experience recently where I was driving around here in Cape Town, and I saw this bird on the road, and it was eating something, and then I thought it was a crow because crows can be deceivingly large. And then as I got closer, I saw it was a rose eagle, and then it just jumped up like next to the car as I was driving and was flying alongside me, and then I felt like an eagle superhero. It was amazing. And that's why, like I said, it's such a privilege to be able to see them here. Oh, can you notice that? The beak is slightly open. Even there at resting, it's slightly open, and that's because birds, in order to cool down, they can't sweat like us. So they do something called gula fluttering. It's something that reptiles do too. And I'm sure that you have heard that birds and reptiles are closely related. And that's because birds are technically dinosaurs. But we'll get into that at some other point because that is quite an explanation. Hi, Zygote. It's you again. I always say I love your name. You say hi, hello, and hi, Lisa White. A good day to you too, and to you, OMG23. Hi, Zygote. You wanted to know, aren't they also known as rose eagles? Most certainly. So there's a different type of black eagle that exists in Asia. And so black eagle is a common name for them, but I also prefer the rose eagle because, I don't know, it feels more correct. Hi, Rolling Trouble. You say hi from Washington State. Well, it's very nice to see you, or to hear you, not even, to know of you, while we get to explore all the wilds. So we were talking about gula fluttering, and that's when the eagle has its mouth open like that, or any bird, and it's got a tongue, and it's wet. So what that means is that the air, which is likely to be quite warm, goes in and touches the tongue where it cools down through evaporative cooling. And because there's so many blood vessels in and around the mouth, it cools down the blood as it circulates through the animal's body. So it helps them to regulate their body temperature. Even though it can sometimes just look like the eagle is shocked. But It's just trying to cool down. On a really hot day, you'll see that an animal, especially when I'm talking about these animals that gula fluttering, I'm talking about specifically about birds. On a really hot day, you'll see that their mouth can open quite wide and they look like they're laughing because there's also a bit of a movement in the throat, hence the fluttering. But that's essentially the only way that they can cool down their body mechanistically. Otherwise, they'll have to make behavioral changes. In our case, that would be or removing your sweater or putting one on or moving to shade. Zygote, you say their beaks are massive. They certainly are. Really, really huge. And that's very important because they themselves are big birds. So that means that they need bigger prey in order to sustain themselves. Amazing. Well, apparently these chicks are likely to hatch at the end of this month, so hopefully we'll be able to catch a glimpse of them. But for now, I think we're going to leave this eagle to rest. Take care of your eggs. We'll be back to see you at the end of the month. Oh, this is amazing. Just look at the size of that nest. Wow. You know, okay, we'll move on in a bit, but just talk about that nest. Rose eagles have quite large nests. Now, usually it's about half a meter in depth, but some nests have been recorded to about 2 meters and even 4 meters. That's a very, very deep nest. Obviously, that's exceptional, but I mean, that's the height of a short zebra. Sorry, a short giraffe. Short female giraffe, which is probably about 4.5 meters or so. So 4 meters is a long, very, very deep nest. They're also quite wide. Why they would need such a deep nest in those exceptional circumstances, I'm not sure. Perhaps they need more shelter, perhaps it's a more windy area. I really don't know, I'm just speculating, but it has been recorded. Beautiful. Okay, let's leave this. I think this is the female. So let's leave this girl and move on to one of our other cams. Do you know why I really love this kind of setup? Because I mean, as a guide, we try really hard not to be intrusive. And we really just want to be observers. But it's impossible because we exist in the space at that time. And with a cam, natural behavior that's unaffected by your presence. And you can catch some spectacular things. Anyway, we've moved on now to Nkoro. So Nkoro is really close to a place where I used to guide, in the Sabi Sands. Unfortunately, I never got to drive Nkoro. But it's a beautiful, beautiful space. The Sabi Sands is one of my favorite reserves. Hello, Impala! A good day to you. Unfortunately, it's not International Impala Day. It's International Leopard Day, which doesn't mean much to you, Impala. No, it doesn't, except that the likelihood of you being eaten today is not any greater than any other day, and I want you to find solace in that. Oh, we've got some young males. So this looks like a bachelor herd. They're kind of hanging out in the shade, but not too hot for them. Oh, some beautiful sounds as well. I always think that Impala is some of the most beautiful antelope. They're so neat and clean, and they really take care of their coat. Nice, we're going around a little bit. What a great pan to see a leopard come down and drink. International Leopard Day, wouldn't that be wonderful? Although, for this particular time of day, well, I'm not sure where you lovely people are joining us from, but here in South Africa it's about 10 past 4, which means the afternoon sun is pretty intense, and that's not the time that we'll usually see predators walking around. But you never know, we could be lucky. Lots and lots of impala around. Oh, isn't that great? I love impala, not just because they're, to me, very beautiful antelope, but also because they're so good at giving clues about what's going on in the bush. Alarm calls, the way they stare in a direction, especially if they're all staring in a single direction. They're just really great, especially if you're trying to find a predator, particularly leopards. And the bush is lovely and green. Of course, it's all going to get a little brown soon. It's starting to already. You can see all that grass quite brown. But it's wonderful to see the bush this green. The last time I saw it, it was quite brown. It looks a bit sad when it's brown, but it's all part of the process. The bush goes through its seasons, and it all has its importance and its ecological functions. Hi, Denise. You're from Philadelphia. Hi, Philadelphia and Denise. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Lisa. You say you miss Tingana and Mr. Anderson. I know. So for those of you who don't know, Tingana was the dominant male in this area, and I was very lucky to spend a lot of time with Tingana. In fact, he was one of the first leopards that I ever decided to paint. And I used to see him quite often, and I became quite attached to him, but we haven't seen him in a while now. And he was starting to get nomadic. And so we think he might have passed on. He was quite old. But I also miss Tingana, Lisa. As for Anderson, the closest I ever got to seeing Anderson, who had a reputation for being the largest male in the Sabi Sands, closest I ever got was seeing this track. I remember once there were reports of Anderson being close to where I was guiding, and I saw this huge track, and I thought, oh no, could this be a juvenile lion? Turns out it was Anderson's track. If only I had seen him. Hey Zygote, you say there's a gray luri, or gray go-away bird calling? Yeah. I even heard a black-headed oriole earlier. Hi Judith, you say, so lovely to hear my voice again. Thank you. It's so lovely to hear some familiar names as well. There's a nice big male that seems to be courting this herd, just moving off to the right there. Of course, there'll be lots of sound. It's May now. I so lose track of time. But earlier, about a month or two ago, I was in the Kruger, and there were already signs of rutting, which is also a great, intense time for Impala. So wonderful to watch them during that time. It really shows how they're this common animal, but when it comes time for rutting, which is their mating season, then you really see a different side. And that male really got quite a few females in his harem during this time. So normally they have very mixed kind of herds, but during the rutting season, you'll see very distinct breeding herds and also distinct bachelor herds. And then obviously lone territorial males who are often fighting very loudly. Oh, hello. That was perfect timing. Got some lovely warties. Enjoying the mud. I get so excited seeing animals. Oh, that's so nice. That mud, I was going to say that warty. That mud looks really nice and wet. It's going to cool these warthogs down quite nicely. And of course that mud is also going to cake up on them and dry up. That can help them remove any ticks and acts as a bit of a sunblock. Oh, Lisa, you say that I was very lucky and very fortunate to spend time with the leopards. I really was. I miss them and think of them all the time. This is a neat little pan here. It looks quite private. I was surprised to see the warthogs move in that way, because normally that's what I expect when I'm guiding and I drive past them and I see them, then they'd get up from the water, but maybe it was just our timing. Okay, now we're off to Tembe. And we have an Impala or two and a man-made structure. This is the definition of ruminating. Hey, Mary Popwell. Popplewell. That is such a lovely surname. Mary Popplewell, you say you love seeing this? I'm so glad. Isn't it amazing when we can, anywhere across the world, come together and enjoy a bit of nature together? I think that's amazing. Look at the look in these Impala's eyes. Thinking about life as they chew on their cud. Let's see if we can get this right. I want you to watch the mouth and the neck of this Impala that's on the right. Oh, don't move. Okay, let's look at the one on the left then, since this view is a little shy. So there we go, chewing, 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 and soon it's going to swallow. And you're going to be able to see that cud ball going down the throat, and then the next one coming up. Oh, nobody wants to play with me today. That's just fine. I think I just saw the other one come up. The ball of cud, I mean. It is magical when you get to see it, because it's something that we're so not used to. Happily throwing up food and re-chewing it. I think I prefer our digestive system. Lisa, you're absolutely right. In fact, as I said what you had written, these impalas lifted up their heads, and that's because, if you can hear, I'm just going to be quiet for 2 seconds. Can you hear that? Those are testiculars that are alarm calling. So the impalas have lifted up their head, and that links to what Lisa just said. Lisa said that in the rutting season, it's a good time for leopards to hunt because the males are distracted. Absolutely. Males, the impala rams, do some crazy stuff during the rutting season because their priority becomes mating. Anything else is just extra, and they really lose condition during that time. So it makes it easier for leopards, not just from the perspective of the impalas paying less attention, but also their condition being worsened. So peaceful. Very nice. It seems like it's Impala Day for International Leopard Day today. You hear the Cape turtle dove in the background? I think Impalas, that it's time for a bit of a change of scenery. What do you say? I think that you're going to agree with me. Yes? Yes? Impalas don't agree, but I think I'd I'd like to move on to the Olifants River. Sound of the water. That marula tree that's almost in the center of your screen. Just imagine seeing a leopard lying in that tree. Leopards love marulas. Marula trees, that is. They don't eat marula fruit. Oh. How about we take a couple seconds to just listen to some of these beautiful sounds? The sound of water is always very calming. Lovely. You should also look along the edges of the river. You might see some water birds, maybe some small creatures coming to drink. I went to see a chameleon. That's what I've decided I wanted to see. Apparently you haven't seen one on the cams yet. That will be my mission. Hey Judith, you want to know if giraffes also chew cud? Yes, they do. They are the largest ruminant. And I'm sure you can imagine that's a long way to go up and down that neck. Bowls of cud, but they certainly do ruminate. There's some beautiful fig trees I can sort of see in the distance. It's difficult to tell from this distance, but the general shape is one towards the left of your screen, far out. There also seems to be, well, there's one on the right there. Maybe this one that's closest to us is also one. Not to tell right now. This looks like the perfect place for a monitor lizard. Now, I'm not sure if I'm seeing things, but going to be in your center of your screen now, there's a flattish area that's right next to the water. And there's something that looks like it's lying there. Could it be a monitor lizard? That spot I'm talking about is slowly moving to the left of your screen now. It looks like there's something lying there. It would be nice if we could zoom in and then I can show you what it is that I'm seeing. But so often as guides, our eyes and our minds play tricks on us because we so desperately want to see animals. Not just desperately, actually. We're just so accustomed to seeing animals that our eyes kind of make them that certain shape. Especially, make trees and rocks and branches certain shapes. We've just moved, we're zoomed out. Now, so I was looking at a different section, but this section's good too. Nice bit of sand. Unfortunately, sand is not particularly nutritious, especially sand that's along the river right in the water, and that's because they don't hold a lot of vegetation. Often that sand is quite weak. Ooh, something. Oh, it's a little bird. Hello, bird. In and out of the water. Love water birds, but there's also other animals that I love that love the water. I'm just having a great time. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I would like to move on to some other animals that really enjoy the water too. Slightly bigger than this bird. Well, nobody wants to move us on. That's fine. Well, there we go. Oh, elephants. So we're at the Kruger Shalati Dam at the moment. We have a beautiful herd. I think the biggest thing that I miss about the bush are elephants. Being in the presence of elephants is quite different to being in the presence of any other animal that you see in the bush, because there's some sort of recognition. They're very curious and they come up to you, and they look at you in your eyes. There's sort of they kind of resonate with yourself in a very human way, and automatically you seem to form a bond with them. Oh, I certainly did. Lots of ear flapping going on. And I'm sure that you guys have come across the fact that they do this in order to create an airflow over the top of the ear and then back or around the back, where they have quite a huge amount of blood vessels. Not just a large amount, but also quite big blood vessels. So again, like we saw with the rose eagle and the gula fluttering, they're trying to cool themselves down by cooling the skin that is thinnest, that skin behind the ear, so the blood vessels are closest to the ear. The only thing between the blood vessel and the ear is a thin layer of skin. And so that blood that's going through those vessels can be cooled as they flap their ears. Hi, Andy. Thanks for joining us. You say a chameleon under the cam would be like winning the lottery? It would. And if ever there was a pundit to give you lottery numbers for chameleons, it would be me. I love chameleons. I have given myself the title of chameleon whisperer. It may not be, very special, to some at least. But I love chameleons, and I have a knack for finding them. You're more likely to find them in the evenings, though, and it's easier to spot them. So once there was this chameleon that I got to know quite well. I can't describe how I got to know her, but anyway, I would visit her often. I knew her bush. And then one day, I came to visit the bush, and I saw that it had been stripped of all its leaves, freshly. And then I found a herd of elephants close by, and they had obviously eaten this bush. It was a little apple leaf bush. Elephants will like that. And then I thought, oh no, maybe the elephants have taken little Nunoka. That was her name. And then I went around looking for elephant vomit, which, yes, does exist. Not exactly vomit. It's just when they spit out things. So they do that if they find something that's not what's their usual diet in their mouths, then they spit out this, salivary bit of stuff. Searching around for any chameleon parts. That was me for one day. I can't think of a better way to end our time together and with these wonderful elephants. So thank you all for joining us. It's always been amazing. And you're going to see more of me. But on Thursday, when you see me, I'll be with Jamie. So see you then, and thank you.